What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with Astrodfs bringing you a brand new video. Today's video going over a recent Dynasty startup draft I did. This is not a mock draft. This is a legit league draft startup. 12 team, a zero point 0.5 tight end premium super flex, start 10, I believe. Um, and in this draft, we did kickers for rookie picks, doing the rookie draft after the NFL draft. So that I kind of like. I kind of don't like just putting the rookies in there before the draft. I kind of like doing the kickers for the picks. So fortunately for me, I found it. And yeah, this is, if you look in the draft board, right, this is kind of why it's good to play without people really, you know, really into Dynasty, right? Putting in a lot of time, effort, watching content, all that stuff. It's really good, right? And that reasoning is right here. You can see CMC going at the 105, right? Not knocking this guy at all, right? Christian McCaffrey still best running back in football. Tyreek Hill still, best top 3 fantasy wide receiver, still has young assets. I'll go down the list, but seeing CMC in the 105 in a startup dynasty is kind of crazy. But yet again, that's why I just play with random people, right? That's why I join leagues with random people. Granted, the sustainability of leagues kind of sometimes drop off when you get teams that don't set themselves up past 1 year almost, or they go all in 1 year and the team doesn't kind of pan out the way they want. So let's just get into it, right? So the top 4 picks: Allen, Mahomes, Stroud, Hurts. No problem with that. Obviously, CMC is where it took a huge turn. Lamar at the 106, CeeDee Lamb the 107, Anthony Richardson going at the 108. Just Jefferson 1-9, Herbert, Burrow 110, 111. I unfortunately got the 112, but I think throughout this draft it kind of did me favors. I was really tempted if Burrow and Chase both fell to me, right? If this guy went with the 101, I was very confident of running a Chase Burrow stack and going with that. But seeing that I had the opportunity, right, I lost out on all these quarterbacks. I took the 101, and I'll go over my draft strategy that I did with this team. But going with the 101 pick here at the 201, I thought it was a good spot. Because immediately after the 102 goes. So this team is kind of dependent almost on what I did. So we'll, go forward with that. You see Jordan Love go. First guy to stack the 2 quarterbacks. Potentially him, depending on who I draft with the 101. Jefferson Amon-Ra, right? My buddy. So he went with, stacking the wide receivers and then panning out quarterbacks, tight end, running backs. Jake goes, really young, going with Anthony Richardson, Bijan, Lamb with Murray. Don't mind that, getting a quarterback. Take a wide receiver, top 5 dynasty wide receiver, going to be for a long time. And then a high fantasy upside quarterback. Lamar, Brees, kind of, interesting in my opinion of going Lamar and then Brees. But yeah, McCaffrey, Hill, if you're doing a one and done year pretty much, that's a really good start to it, in all honesty. Obviously, taking McCaffrey at the 105 isn't the greatest, but still having those 2 types of players where if they are healthy, they're top 5 fantasy assets, both of them. And then you get the Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown stack. That's a good stack there. CJ Stroud guy goes with Puka, best fantasy rookie wide receiver last year. Just look at his numbers, enough said. Like, number 4 receiver with only 6 touchdowns. So I think that's a great stack. Mahomes Gibbs, this one is interesting to me. I would have rather went receiver here with Mahomes. Not mocking it though. Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously great running back. And then we get our first trade of the draft, and that's Bailey here. gets the 212 and he goes Laporta. So he gets a young Dynasty top 5 receiver, top 3 Dynasty tight end, right? And then Kyler Murray, where that upside is there for him fantasy-wise. He's just been unhealthy. And the weapons aren't there, but still, with his rushing upside, it's always a good thing. And then you see Jake here, Anthony Richardson, Bijan, Garrett Wilson. So going very young with his first 3 picks. Anthony Richardson looked really good for the games he was in, especially fantasy-wise. Bijan is Bijan, right? Enough said. Probably, if you take CMC away, second best running back in the league. And then Garrett Wilson with Aaron Rodgers. That upside is crazy. So it's a good first 3 picks for Jake there as well. And then Ethan goes Olave. You get Drake London. You get Jonathan Taylor, right? You see these guys kind of building. Mahomes, Gibbs, Olave. It's a good 3 to have. Hurts, Brown, Taylor, getting that stack. And then another really good fantasy running back, regardless of dynasty value, right? Just fantasy year to year. If this guy is healthy, is a monster. Allen stacks up Hill with Tua. I don't mind that one if you want to stack kind of in that situation. And then we get the Lamar guy going with T-Law. So he's got his 2 quarterbacks. He's got a running back. That's not my ideal. I want to get a wide receiver before running back, but I still don't knock the Breece Hall. Hopefully if you find value, that's where you go. And then the 101 guy gets Dak Prescott in the 3rd round. So gets his quarterbacks. Pete trades up. Gets the number 3 and 4, I believe, in the draft. It's really crazy. He traded basically a 6 for a third the way it came out. I was pissed at him. I was telling him how he finessed. So essentially what he did is swap first with somebody's, and then he traded a 6 for a third. That's in the end, that's what ended up happening. I think he made another trade somewhere, and he traded back, got the first back, and ended up basically trading Ken Walker for the 103, I believe. So yeah, crazy finesse there. Gets a 103, 104. Anderson goes with McBride, getting a young tight end. Guy right before me goes another kicker, so he's getting the 102 and the 105. And then I go Brock Purdy, right? I felt Brock Purdy was a good spot to have. So the way I have my roster built, right, I have Jamar Chase, the 101, and Brock Purdy. And then I had the next pick, so I go Brandon Ayuk. So right now, the way the roster is set up in this league, it's a 2 wide receiver, right? But there's 3 flexes and, of course, a super flex. So right off the bat, I have my 2 receivers, right? That's what I went with there. So we get Jamar Chase, Brandon Ayuk. I feel confident. Even if Brandon Ayuk gets traded away from Purdy, Purdy is still going to be a very efficient quarterback in that system. Brandon Ayuk is still going to be a really good receiver. So if they're together, great. That's good for me this season. If not, I still have 2 really good assets at different positions. So just to go down to my roster and just go with what I was going with here, comes up in the next round, going Zay Flowers and Travis Kelce. So yet again, what I do here is now I have my first flex, I have my tight end. So I have my quarterback, my 2 receivers, my tight end, and one of my essentially 4 flexes all covered. And I still have the 101, right? I could go Marvin Harrison, I could go Caleb Williams the way I'm building the roster. Baker falls kind of exactly where I wanted him to. We start to get, if you look at the receivers after, you get Stephon Diggs, still a really good receiver. Terry McLaurin, Marquise Brown, Amari Cooper, Ridley. Like, all those guys are really solid receivers, and I would love to have them. But taking someone like Baker, like, I think if I didn't go Baker, I go Rodgers, right? Potentially Smith as the only 2 other upside kind of quarterbacks that I'm not investing a whole lot into, if we're being honest, with draft capital. And it makes it so I have my 2 quarterbacks, right? I have 2 starting quarterbacks, one that just signed an extension, one on a rookie deal, right? Really good system. So I feel good with where I'm at. And then I get Travis Kelce. I've yet to get a Travis Kelce share in Dynasty. I just never wanted to pay that for a tight end with where he was. But now that he falls all the way to the 6th round, whatever happens with Rashee Rice, I'm very confident with Travis Kelce being there. So Travis Kelce, yet again, have that effect where TJ Hawkinson goes. Baker Mayfield, I pair him with Chris Godwin, and then I back up my tight end. So I get Dallas Goedert as my tight end too, a guy that I could plug in the flex, seeing that it's 0.5 tight end premium. So I could plug him into the flex easily. But this is where it gets interesting with how my strategy is, right? So I look at the guy that took the 102. I got many messages of who I was taking during this draft. Hey, am I going Marvin Harrison? Am I going Caleb Williams? And I was pretty much in the 3rd round, right, when I started to get asked this, because that's when rookie picks started to go. I think people started to realize, hey, with the 101, the 102, and then you see the 1, 3, 4, and 5 go. You see the 106, and then the 107, right? It starts to go, but people are kind of asking where I'm going to go so they know kind of how to play in their rosters. And I'm not, for one, I'm not going to give you that information, respectfully, not just being a douche or anything. I just don't want to help you build your Dynasty roster and possibly take someone that I'm going to be interested in going forward because you're planning on my roster, right? So I have that 101. I could go either way now. So if you look at what the projected starting lineup is, besides the kicker, there are no kickers. It's the rookie pick, so that position is not getting added, it's just taken away. So the way my roster is set, just off projections, I guess. Brock Purdy, talk about the running backs later. Jamar Chase, Brandon Ayuk, Travis Kelce, Zay Flowers, Chris Godwin, Goddard, and Baker. So I have that youth in Purdy, in Jamar Chase, in Brandon Ayuk, in Zay Flowers. I have some other guys we'll talk about. And then I have those vets with high upside for year to year. Travis Kelce, right, getting older. Probably not going to have him a while. Dallas Goedert got a few good years left in him as a top tight end. So I'll take that as kind of Travis Kelce's replacement. And then Baker Mayfield. So I have leverage to where I could go Caleb Williams, right, and have him on my bench almost. I think I'm going to put him over Baker, if we're being honest. But if that situation doesn't work out, I still have Baker as a backup plan. Or I go Marvin Harrison, to where I now have Jamar Chase, Brandon Ayuk, Zay Flowers, and Marvin Harrison as a really star-studded wide receiver room. But yeah, we'll keep going in the draft. So the guy before me asked where I was going, and you kind of see his roster. So he's got the 102. So he's got Burrow, Watson, and Will Levis already as quarterbacks. His wide receiver room going Jalen Waddle, and then no one else till Darnell Mooney, right? So what this says to me is, do I reach out to him and see if he wants Marvin Harrison, right? And we trade, right? I'm fine with taking Marvin Harrison. If he really wants Marvin Harrison with that 102, right? Because if I take Marvin Harrison, who's he left with? Caleb Williams? He's probably going Malik Neighbors, right? If that's the case. If he goes another quarterback, like you're sitting Watson and Levis, that's, you're reaching out for a trade somewhere. And then that just benefits, my buddy Pete, and he gets, an elite receiver and elite, quarterback prospect, if that's the case, if we both go wide receiver. So yeah, there's options there, but going out for the rest of the roster, and I go for borderline receivers, right? Guys that have upside, haven't really hit it, kind of new situations, but they're not in my starting lineup, right? Like Jerry Jeudy, Michael Wilson, Gabe Davis. We keep going down. Demario Douglas, Rashard Bateman. Like these guys, you look at their stats. Go to Jerry Jeudy. You look at where he's finished. Had a wide receiver 2 season. Has not had, anything else. Has yet to hit 1,000 yards. The touchdowns are low, right? That was in Denver. This is Cleveland. Michael Wilson last season, wide receiver 60, missed some time. Some of his games, though, with upside, like last 2 weeks of the season, 15 and a half. Saw some upside games here without Kyler, but kind of got hurt when Kyler got back, so didn't really get to evaluate it all that much. Gabe Davis now going to Jacksonville, obviously fell off, really fell off in Buffalo, like completely fell off in Buffalo here. But you look at where Gabe Davis has finished, right? Oh, still only 25 years old. New system in Jacksonville, so it's a risk, right? These guys are risks. Jerry Jeudy, Michael Wilson, Gabe Davis, Rashard Bateman's another one. Like Odell's gone, has yet to do anything as a wide receiver. Still 24. Maybe moves into that wide receiver 2 behind Zay Flowers. So I have Bateman and Flowers, like 2 receivers in that system. Demario Douglas, though, I like as a guy going into next season with whoever the Patriots take. We look at the Patriots wide receiver room. Juju's still there, right? But after that, you're getting, KJ Osborne's a name, but you're getting other guys that have been injured or really haven't done anything. And Demario Douglas had some games to where that upside was there. Obviously, you see his targets last season, 78 in only 14 games, so I don't mind that at all. I think the upside could be there, right? But in the end, none of these guys are in my starting lineup. So it's not like I am taking risks on Jerry Jeudy, Michael Wilson, Gabe Davis, Demario Douglas, and Bateman. I'm not taking risks to where I need these guys to produce. If these guys have upside, then yes, my lineup looks better because I have these guys on the bench. Like I'm benching somebody. I could plug and play somebody. I could trade for somebody if these guys have upside. If they don't, then guess what? I ate it, but they're on my bench. I don't need them, right? So it's kind of guys I went risky with. And then I did I did not take a running back until the 13th round. And that was Keaton Mitchell, who just came off of major injury. I get Elijah Mitchell, I get Alexander Mattison, I get Chris Rodriguez, I get Eric Gray, Isaiah Spiller, Samaje Perine to fill out my running back room. So as of right now, I don't have a starting running back, right? Mitchell's not starting. Both Mitchells aren't starting. Alexander Mattison's not starting. Rodriguez definitely isn't starting. Gray. None of these guys are starting. These are all running back 2s. So yes, I'm going to get eaten alive in the running back aspect of competition. But with the draft is only 3 rounds for this league and rookie. I could find some rookie running backs that are going to make rosters that I could fill in this and get rid of some other assets here. But just going down the line of kind of where I was at with some of these picks, I said signed Mac Jones, or drafted, sorry, we don't sign anybody. Drafted Mac Jones as a backup quarterback to have on the roster. Taysom Hill as a guy that, if desperate, I need to throw somebody in there to start with upside, right? Like a very definition of boom or bust for a player is Taysom Hill in the Saints offense, which he is still 33 years old. So yet again, these are guys I don't plan on playing, but kind of where I'm at is the running backs, just getting backup running backs. Hopefully one of them gets a start somewhere. Not the starting job, just a start for a week. I could just plug him in. Go Mecole Hardman. I like Mecole Hardman a lot. I think if he stays in Kansas City with the whole Rashee Rice situation, he kind of moves into that wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 competition. Seeing Marquise Brown is there. Sky Moore, may have that upside. Kadarius Toney, I think, is still there? Question mark. And then we get 2 other backup quarterbacks, Mason Rudolph, Taylor Heineke. I go Mason Rudolph just because of the talent in Tennessee. If Will Levis gets hurt or doesn't pan out, they're not going Malik Willis. They're going Mason Rudolph. You get DeAndre Hopkins, Treylon Burks, and Calvin Ridley. So it's a good wide receiver room to have for a backup quarterback. Taylor Heineke is just my guy. Taylor Heineke and Gardner Minshew are my 2 journeyman quarterbacks I will always follow. But kind of the same thing, was in Atlanta last season. You look at his fantasy numbers and nothing's crazy. But if he's a backup going with Drake London, Bijan, Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, Rondell Moore. Like, they brought in some more pieces offensively and a different change of pace offensively as well. So if something happens to Kirk Cousins, or he's not ready for whatever reason, I have Taylor Heineke there to go in, and then finish it off with Juwan Jennings. 2 San Fran, 2 Baltimore receivers on my team. Just kind of throwing out that scenario that Brandon Ayuk doesn't return to San Fran. Then Juwan Jennings kind of moves into that wide receiver. He's still the wide receiver 3. I imagine they go wide receiver somewhere to kind of fill that void if it's not Ayuk. But still, it's a guy I don't really need. He's just a roster spot. Devontae Parker, kind of same thing. 2 Philly pass catchers, but he's that wide receiver 3 for Philly, which I think is their best wide receiver 3 option they've had since kind of, trying to fill out the A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and a third. So that's kind of where we went with this draft, guys. So let me know what you think of the roster in the comments. Obviously, I know the running back room is abysmal, is terrible. I get it, right? I definitely understand. I'm going to build that running back room. I still have all of my 25 picks. I tried to make trades in this draft. Not a lot of guys wanted feature picks, so I didn't, with where I have my draft spots and guys that were kind of just lining up that I liked, I didn't want to trade away those spots. So I still have all my feature picks, so I could still make moves in that aspect. So hope you guys did enjoy the video. Like I said, leave in the comments what you like, what you don't like about my roster, and I will see you guys in the next one.